This is Kelly Hill, technology reporter with... I'm going to start that over. Okay. This is Kelly Hill, technology reporter with RCR Wireless News. I'm here today at the InfoVista booth at IWCE 2015, and we're talking with Darren Hart. And tell us a little bit about the session that you did. I believe it was related to LTE and LMR, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So I was on a panel with Bob and a couple of other guys there, and we did a session going over the differences of coverage between the LMR networks and the upcoming LTE broadband networks. So I presented basically what was really required to move forward with LTE, because it's a very different beast to LMR. And this is going to require much higher resolution data sets and high resolution models to be able to figure out how to cover inside structures and buildings. So part of my presentation was to really show how they would take this data to be able to give them much better insight into if they had first responders inside structures, how they would actually be able to see if they were really covered in those structures, whereas previously you couldn't really see that. So I really went over that. My colleagues there went over the differences in the link budget between LMR and LTE, which is quite complex, but I really tried to keep it a little bit more simple in a frame of reference that allowed them to see how they'd have to move forward with products and materials that would allow them to get a better insight into building LTE. Hopefully so they can make better decisions in the design process, which will allow them to not make mistakes as they roll out the real network.
Now, does that assume interoperability between LTE and LMR, or does it treat them as completely separate networks?
Well, they are completely separate networks, but as a rule, obviously our products will allow them to look at both networks within the same platform, which is quite nice. So they'll be able to actually see where they have their existing LMR coverage and potentially even VHS and simulcast networks. And then when the broadband LTE network comes along and they overlay it, they'll be able to see basically where they have each type of coverage, if they have both, if they have one, which will allow them to make better decisions if they have to send a team out and say, this is where your LMR coverage is currently. This is where your LTE network is currently been built to, because obviously it won't all be built at the same time. It's going to take a while to build this network. So then they'll be able to inform their teams and their first responders that you're not going to have these services in this location. You may have to take this type of radio. Maybe it's LMR only. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's high resolution LTE, so it can get good video and things like that nature.
Okay. Great, Darren. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and that's it.